Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, Fringe Finance welcomes Veno Finance to talk about zkSync, the airdrop, and the future of the chain, of the roadmap that zkSync presented to us. So, I want to welcome Brian. He is the CTO of Fringe Finance, and also Zim, that works with Veno Finance. And before we jump to the topic, today's topic, I want to ask Zim to tell us a little bit about Vino Finance, what you guys do, what are the your main offering. So please come to the stage and talk a little bit about Vino Finance.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So Veno Finance is a liquid staking protocol originally launched end of 2022 on the Kronos chain. It's another L1 EVM chain where we started out with offering liquid staking services for the Kronos token. So already back then we are basically offering cross-chain staking since the token itself was staked on another Cosmos-based chain, and we offered the liquid token on Kronos, the EVM chain. And then we expanded into other tokens and chains, also Cosmos, and now recently also Celestia's Tiers, and also on zkSync earlier this year. We have started to offer LETH, which is the liquid staked ETH directly minted and burned on zkSync. So with that, we have these four tokens across two chains offered. And currently we're working on more yield-bearing tokens, specifically for Kronos zkEVM, which is another chain built on top of the zkSync stack.
Wonderful. And Brian, can you tell us a little bit about Fringe Finance, the facilities that we offer, please, for those that don't doesn't know us.
For the Veno crowd, yes, I just want to comment on Zim. That was great to hear what you guys are doing there. And gosh, it seems like you're quite across a number of ecosystems. And it's really good to see you embracing the zkSync space because, yeah, there's quite a lot of interest and activity and community there. And there's a number of differentiators. So it's great to have your capability on that chain also. What's Fringe Finance? We are a margin trading and lending platform. We're running across 5 chains currently, and we will be running across more. But one of our unique value propositions is the number of assets that we support. We support a whole host of the regular suspects in the ERC20 space, as well as a whole host of long tail ERC20 assets. And we're currently in audit to support our more exotic assets, which will be LP tokens and ERC 4626 tokens. So these tokens, if people may be familiar with them, are composite instruments where there are a number of aspects that the user is exposed to, a number of underlying aspects of that in those instruments that user is exposed to, and with Fringe Finance and for our reason for offering support for these tokens is to provide a set of really interesting use cases that allow users to not only deploy their capital in usual ways as using those assets as collateral against which they can borrow loans or to lend those tokens out to seek extra yield. But more importantly, with our margin trading and lending platform, users can be very nuanced in the way that they take positions to hedge or gain further exposure to any elements of those composite instruments. For example, and I'll just give one quick example, LP tokens are composite insofar as that you're exposed to the yield you receive from trading fees, exposed to the impermanent loss, and also exposed to the each of the underlying tokens. with Fringe Finance, it's quite possible to take a nuanced position, to hedge your position so that you remove or hedge your exposure to the impermanent loss. Now, I won't talk any further about that. I just wanted to get to that point to give a real life example of the kinds of more sophisticated or nuanced ways that users can use our platform and how it's really differentiated in the marketplace. James, I hope I didn't go on too long there, but there you go.
Okay, thank you, Brian. It was a great overview. And Zim, I just want to come back to something that you said before we enter into zkSync roadmap and this type of stuff. You mentioned that you guys are a liquid staking platform, and then you have if on zkSync. Can you expand that a little bit? What the holders or users can do with your token on zkSync specifically?
Yes, sure. So basically how it works is if you want to get LETH, there's always two ways, is to buy it directly. So either I think on SyncSwap or on Maverick, or you stake ETH on our website, Veno Finance, and then you receive LETH in return. It's a yield bank token. That means just by holding it over time, it increases in value. So when you unstake it or redeem it, you receive more ETH back eventually than what you originally staked it for. This is very similar to wrapped stake ETH in that sense. The difference here is that you can do that all directly on zkSync, so you don't have to bridge it from Ethereum. The whole bridging part on our side is batched, so there's like a socialization of especially gas fees. What you can do with this is generally, but now is the main thing you can do is just LP it on SyncSwap and or Maverick. For SyncSwap, we have our own incentive program running. So if you deposit your SyncSwap LP on our website, what we call the Veno Garden, you can receive Veno incentives. There's a whole incentive program behind of it. Where if you lock up our protocol token, you can earn a boost on how much incentives you earn. Yeah, but we're also always looking out, especially for lending and borrowing, to find new use cases for LETH.
Great, great. Thank you. And yeah, both protocols, we are on zkSync, and we had the zk airdrop, and that shake things a little bit on the chain. I want you guys to provide a little overview of what you thought about the airdrop and also the token release, and then we can move to other topics inside zkSync itself. So, Brian, can you share with us a little bit your thoughts about the token and also what you expect that will happen with the token, the use case and things like that?
Yeah, sure. Just a short comment is given the project, the zkSync project has now moved to a community DAO-driven model, it makes perfect sense. And really the only mechanism that is feasible is to have a community token or a governance token. And so it is quite commensurate with the token release, with the transition to the DAO, and the fact that they did an airdrop was great, because it realistically encourages and engages the individuals and organizations that are participating in that ecosystem. So I think it makes perfect sense. It was done, I think, relatively fairly. I don't think there's I don't think anything like that could be ever done perfectly, but I think it was done fairly well. And what I mean there is, I wish I had received more zkSync ZK tokens. But yeah, that's my short comment.
Yeah, I think everybody wanted to receive a little bit more. Zim, do you have any thoughts about this specific topic?
From our perspective on Veno, we are not too much impacted by it. I think once we joined the chain ecosystem quite late, so we are not really impacted by it. But I think it will be really interesting to see once the whole DAO and proposal system actually launches, to see what players will be active there, if there are any different directions the chain will move because of the different interests, and how the incentives actually work at the end, on what is the way forward, or what people or different projects actually want to achieve on zkSync, or also the larger zkSync ecosystem. Like, will this be more focused on the current like zkSync era chain, or does it really affect like all the different zk chains in the future that are built on top of it? And then you see different factions trying to move the direction of the project into different directions.
Yeah, it was like a packed month for zkSync, because first they released their airdrop. There was a lot of commotion around that, and a few days later they released their 3.0 roadmap, and they started to talk about the Alex chain, and they want to zkSync to become a zk hub for other chains to interact. And do you guys think that this is a great approach? Like, for example, Optimism, they have the super chain on the Optimism type of rollups. Do you think that zkSync made a good move trying to somehow mimic this approach? Brian, I would love to hear your thoughts about that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for surprising me with that one. I think it's quite interesting. There's a lot to play out in the world of the large proliferation of chains currently. And there are different approaches that I think are, bubbling up. One is um, um, interoperability between chains, and that might be done on a per chain basis, like a point-to-point basis. And there's also what zkSync is doing there, which is creating a bit of abstraction or maybe composability. I'm not quite sure what the details of this integration is, but in that particular ecosystem, and creating a little, if you like, a swimming pool of zk sponsored or initiated integrations. And then there's other layers, which are abstraction layers, that integrate with underlying set of chains and allow transactions to be executed. And I'll use inverted commas there, because there will be more or less capability in execution of transactions. Atomicity is super crucial for executing, the business level or abstracted transactions that individuals and organizations will wish to execute across multiple chains. Because there are multiple chains, excuse me, because there are multiple chains in existence at the moment, to execute a transaction faithfully, and when I say a transaction, I mean an atomic abstracted intent that you wish to execute across multiple chains. That technology does not currently exist. So it's interesting to see these features and capabilities and the jostling that's happening in this space. And I fully support zkSync establishing this ecosystem, but I think there's a lot to play out there, and there'll be quite compelling abstractions arising in this space. And I think probably listen to some of the lectures and presentations from some of the recent ETH conferences, and they refer to a few things in this space. But yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot going on in that space. I think what zkSync is doing is commendable, but there's a lot to play out.
And Zim, do you have any thoughts about that? Veno is looking at it closely to deploy on these other chains.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we're currently very actively working directly with the zk stack to figure out how the current bridge hub works. It was released very recently, and I think it's very interesting to see that we can very easily already from between right now. What's possible already is this bridging between L1 and L2. What was already possible with zkSync, from what I understand, is that all the tokens that, for example, are locked currently on the bridge hub on L1 are the same across all the other L2s. So in theory, it would be very easy then to move funds from one L2 to the other. So as long as they're locked in the same bridge on Ethereum. And then it opens up a lot of new use cases. I think not just for European tokens, but also I think Aave does it in a cumbersome way right now for lending and borrowing, right, where you can provide capital for one token and then you borrow on another chain with the for example, if you supplied on Ethereum, you can borrow on Arbitrum. That's I think already possible, but it's not in a decentralized way or not very decentralized. With the new bridge hub and what the updates that will come in the future, I think will be very easier or much easier for dApps to build these features where you can say, okay, I have this information, these kind of deposits on my current chain, and I want to enable something because of it in the other chain. And the whole infrastructure is already there to support that, right? And for developers and so on, it will be very easy to integrate that. So I think this will bring in a new set of dApps and especially DeFi systems, which make really use of multiple chains at the same time, and it can also abstract away a lot of that logic for the users.
Yeah, thank you. You touched something that is quite interesting. That it is liquidity across the chains, and this is something that is especially relevant for lending protocols that are deployed on several chains, because right now most of the liquidity is not integrated, so it is siloed on each chain. And I think this approach that zkSync is trying to make it makes complete sense. And then I will have another question for Brian. Brian, do you see in the future on our roadmap, like Fringe V4, a way to integrate this type of liquidity that can be used on all chains that the protocol is deployed?
I wonder if I have a good answer on that, because ultimately there will be an asset that either represent that if there is an asset that represents and abstracts some value sitting out on other chains, yes, the answer would be yes there. And there could be various mechanisms to achieve that. One could be some representation or staking token that, and this is interestingly where Vemo could come into the picture, that represents that remote value store, that remote asset. And there could be other ways that otherwise abstract it. For example, there are emerging a set of DeFi, what would we call them? Stripe for DeFi platforms, whereby if you wish to interact with a DeFi protocol, but you do not have the assets, these platforms will either convert some of your assets to the necessary asset required by the DeFi platform, or it will take your assets and keep it so that you're still exposed to it, and they will lend you the assets so that you can participate in that DeFi protocol. And this is something where Fringe is also looking at in the fullness of time to provide that kind of seamless capability for users to interact. So, Carlos, James, I think it's quite there's a number of aspects to that question that you asked. And yeah, and there's still a lot to play out there. So it is something very interesting, something we're all talking about. and just considering all the good ideas that and possibilities for our platform and for the future and continued integrations with all of these great ideas that just make life seamless for users, irrespective of what chain and what assets are floating around, and to give users the best capital efficiency with their capital and deployed in flexible ways. So yes, there you go. Another long answer to a short question, James. Thanks.
No, I know that that question it requires like a 1 hour answer. Thank you for making it short. And Zim, I know that you touched it that briefly, but for Vino specifically, what would be the benefits to have a larger integration on this Elastic chain? Do you guys plan to have a token that can be used on any chains inside this super chain? That is something that you guys are looking and taking a closer look at.
Yes, this is something we take strong into consideration. So, for example, right now we are developing free yield-bearing tokens specifically for Kronos zk EVM. So it's zk Crow, VETH, and VUSD, and they're all some sort of yield-bearing versions of those underlying tokens. What we consider there also in the design of the token is that we keep the flexibility on have them transferable, including the yield to other ecosystems outside the chain and we intend them to exist on. So this way we keep ourselves open. And in the future, if we want to bring, because we have this whole process already built where we can earn yield on USD, on ETH, or on Crow, and we want to bring that across the whole zk ecosystem, we can easily bridge it and deploy it into protocols that might be available there. So it is something we take into consideration, even though I think right now it's not even possible yet, but we're going to be ready for the future with that one.
Great. Yeah, it is good to keep an eye and be prepared for the things that are coming. And talking about things that are coming, Brian, I have a community question for you, and I think that you are prepared for this one. But the question is, when zk token on Fringe?
I'll answer that in 2 seconds. But Zim, I just want to comment on what you guys are doing there. There is so much more innovation occurring in that space than first appears for me. So this is really great to hear your story there, and it gives me quite a lot more to look into, and it will spark off quite a number of conversations. But yeah, it's been really interesting to hear that. Now, back to your question, James. When are we listing ZK? As soon as our marketing people say list it, which will be imminently, I think.
Okay, and yeah, so I'll drop that question to our market team later. But when we integrate zk on Fringe, what zk token holders will be able to do? Can you explain that a little bit for us?
Sure. Okay. So Fringe offers for this ZK token, which is an ERC20 token, it offers a fairly neat and basic set of use cases. And first of all, it is to like extract further capital efficiency out of their holdings, because the users currently experience benefits insofar as they are first of all exposed to the upside of that token, and they feel quite passionate by and large for the upside potential for that token. Also, it gives them governance and voting rights with the zkSync DAO, and there may be some staking opportunities, and from time to time that may be attractive for them. Now, with Fringe, one of or a couple of the obvious use cases are to deploy their ZK assets as collateral to take out loans. And they can take out loans in stablecoins and then go deploy that elsewhere in the DeFi the broader DeFi ecosystem while still maintaining exposure to the upside potential of the ZK token. And they still also have governance, can enjoy governance rights, given they still possess those tokens. They can also lend out their ZK tokens to borrowers who wish to borrow those tokens, and that provides extra yield for those users. So, in a nutshell, that's the extra utility that Fringe provides. And in extension to that, one can employ margin trading or take margin trading positions using the ZK token. So that can be either on the short side or the long side. So in a nutshell, that's basically it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. So ZK token holders will be able, when ZK token is listed on Fringe, they will be able to use the token as a collateral to take loans, and also they will be able to use our Amplify and margin trade facilities to create trades with the token, so they will be able to short it, to go long. So a lot of exciting things to do. Guys, we are approaching to the end of this talk, and I wanted to ask Zim specifically if you have any other thoughts about this is elastic chain move of zkSync. If you have something else to add.
Yes, so I think we're all looking really forward to the new future and what it holds in store for us, especially with the technical possibilities. And we're currently expecting, especially after seeing the new roadmap from zkSync. And given we're also actively shaping that, and we just launched a new basically marketing campaign for earning loyalty points for our new chain, Chronos zkEVM. So anyone who's interested in that can check that out on chronos.org. There will be information on how to participate. I think it will be really great to get us pushing this out here.
Okay, thank you, Zing. So guys, please go to Veno.finance so you can check all the offerings that Veno has, and also check this marketing initiative. And Brian, do you have closing thoughts about the topic itself and also the Fringe Finance role inside zkSync ecosystem?
Oh, yeah. I think, first of all, it's just great to be on this call with Veno. And Zim, thanks very much for going through everything on your side of things. I think it's really interesting. There's such depth to what's happening there. Yes, I think with Fringe Finance, we're listing these new tokens and as far as possible supporting and providing additional utility for users in the zkSync space. As mentioned, we'll be listing the ZK token so people can borrow against it and use it in lending scenarios. Also, what's really interesting is our new exotic asset support coming up, because it offers financial it supports financial strategies that don't currently exist in the DeFi space, and particularly with LP tokens. There is, just talking about things from a financial perspective, and I know we're primarily DeFi, but from a financial perspective, in finance, there is the notion of negative gamma, and there is no real opportunity to take those positions in DeFi, such as buying short options on LP token positions. And with Fringe Finance, now with our support for LP tokens, there is, I think, one of the first or one of the most viable. There's probably one or two platforms out there in some environments that support some variant of this, but Fringe Finance now allows the LP token holders to hedge certain aspects of their positions. And given there are billions of dollars of TVL locked up in LP tokens, we think it represents quite a significant opportunity for well, the DeFi ecosystem as a whole, and also for LP token holders, and also for Fringe Finance, the project itself. So yeah, James, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to chat here. This has been great.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Zim, for your time, for your thoughts about this topic. And I want to thank everyone that joined us. Of course, this X Space is being recorded, and we will provide it for our followers, and then we are going to publish that on YouTube and also on X. So once again, thank you very much, Zim, and thank you, Brian. And I see you guys next time. Thank you.
See you, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye bye.